Here we are again. Happy Thursday. Today I wanted to read something from the Moomin Koan. It's case 30, and the koan's title is Mind is Buddha. It's a short one. I think I may have even read this one to you before, but I want to take it in a different direction this time. So, Taibei once asked Baso, "What is Buddha?" Baso answered, "Mind is Buddha." So it's pretty straightforward. Short little koan. Mind is Buddha. So I wanted to look at emotional states that arise in our mind. So Buddha, right? The Buddha nature, the Buddha mind, right? What is the nature of the Buddha? What is the thing within us, right? I say, you already have it. I can't give it to you. It's already there, right? There's nothing to attain. You already have Buddha nature. What is that nature, right? That's the nature of no fixed thing. It's the nature of no fixed characteristic. Everything is impermanent. Nothing lasts. It's the nature of everything. It's the nature of animals, buildings, planets, stars, ourselves. You know, the joke I always make is I used to have hair, right? No fixed thing, no fixed nature. Mind is Buddha. So what is Buddha? Mind is Buddha. Well, here's what's interesting. Think for a minute about all of the things that our mind does in a day to either elevate us or torture us. Yeah. The list is long. But wait, mind is Buddha. So why is that an important affirmation? That's an important affirmation because when I experience an emotional state which I don't enjoy, usually the next thing I want to do is find a way out, and I start strategizing about how to fix it. I don't want to feel this way. So, I heard someone say not long ago about another person, they're addicted to epiphanies. Right? So epiphanies are like new insights. Right? Like, oh, I know. If I just do this, I'll change my whole life, right? And I kind of like that because it's like we can sit with our mind and we can try to figure out what we should do, and we can even come up with a pretty good plan. Oh, if I just do this and this, if I just start drop shipping, then I'll have more money, right? If I spend more time with my kid, then they'll like me better. And maybe they will, right? It's nothing wrong with making plans, having goals, analyzing life situations, making decisions. But there is something that functions in our mind where negative states are a problem to be solved instead of a temporary experience to be sat through and seen through. I do a fair amount of driving in my work, and I woke up the other day in sort of a negative, anxious mind state. And there were some reasons for the anxiety, but kind of as I'm going along, I'm like trying to figure out, okay, well, what am I going to do? Like, well, if I do this or I do that, maybe I could adjust it this way. And then I just caught myself kind of strategizing as I'm going down the road, and I was like, what is this really? And I just sat with the feeling. And then what came up was like a really depressed time in high school. And I sort of felt the echoes of that like 18-year-old young man, who had never gone to therapy and never meditated and had all of this stress and anxiety. And I sort of saw it was just a pattern. It was like something that was happening in my life was sort of echoing some things that happened back then, and it was just vibrating in that place. And it wasn't really anything. I just was like, well, that's over. Like, it'll be okay. Like, even if the worst happens, I'll get through it. I've been through hard things. And probably it won't. But the point is, we don't have to figure out a tactic to make ourselves feel better. We can literally just sit with the feeling, and then it'll pass. and it'll pass, or it'll metabolize into something else, right? Or it'll reveal itself as a particular belief, or as a particular concern, or as, something you need to take care of. But mind is Buddha. Mind is always changing. Mind is never the same. And if you know that, you could cheat a little bit. Because we can find ourselves in a negative mind state, and instead of being like, oh God, I'm the worst, or, how dare you say that to me, whatever, right? We can just go, this is temporary. I can tell you, that is something that absolutely transformed my marriage, is when I started viewing things that my wife said that I didn't like as negative mind states in me to allow to pass. Because, she's a human, and so sometimes she is annoyed, or in a negative mind state herself, or expresses something unskillfully. And it's funny how we all want a partner who's like never unskillful, never irritable, never difficult, always perfect, right? It's impossible. So what happens when we just allow the person in our life to just be in the state they're in, just like we allow ourselves to be in the state we're in, right? We just sit with it. So then, she presents with, some kind of complaint or issue, and then I just, I can just be like, oh, you seem upset, right? I am upset. Tell me more. Now I'm not saying that I'm always perfect and that I always react without any, conflict, and, no, not at all. But it is, I feel sort of like, it's like it's like a explorer discovering another continent, right? People don't realize that if you allow things to exist, they cease to exist, right? If they fully come up, they manifest and then they disappear. And so I've been on the other side of that too. I've been like, rah, and then I'm like, whoa, I'm sorry. I don't know where that came from. You can have fights that last like 30 seconds. You have fights with yourself that last 30 seconds. The thing is that how we feel moment by moment is not that important, says the therapist. Now, if moment by moment by moment by moment a pattern emerges, maybe you need to take that to a therapist, right? But we don't have to fix everything. We don't have to hold on to everything. When we're in a positive state, we try to hold on to. It's not the first drink that gets you, right? It's the 10th. I want to hold on to that feeling. I want to hold on to it. Life can become a process of seeing things arising and falling and engaging them 100%, fully engaging, knowing that it's going to fall away. Hug your kid knowing that eventually they're going to grow up and move away. And really enjoy that moment. This very mind, as Buddha, is enlightened. That's the other side, right? So one side is that this mind is not permanent, and all of the states are not permanent. The other side is this very mind is enlightened awareness. At any point, we can bring the light in, free of any preconditions, preconceptions, totally in the moment, totally present, totally aware, right there with what is. And all sorts of wisdom and brilliance and creativity and compassion flow right into that place. And we can find ourselves doing and saying things we never have thought were even capable of. Because the very mind that you carry with you day in and day out is Buddha. That's you. So when you're having a crisis of confidence, it's worth stopping and going, wait a minute. This very mind is Buddha. So what would my enlightened, what is the enlightened nature of this moment? Where am I stuck? What am I attached to? What can I let go of? What can I embrace? Because we're taking up the practice of working directly with our mind. That's the purpose of meditation, is to decide, I'm not going to just have, when I used to live in Colorado, and at the time, in the early 2000s, there was this very popular way of doing the yard called xeriscaping, which is where you landscape with no foreign plants. Everything is like native to the area. And so theoretically, you don't have to do much. Of course, it actually ends up being a huge amount of work to xeriscape a yard. But presumably, once it's done, you sort of have this natural environment. So from a certain point of view, Zen meditation is not xeriscaping. Right? You can't just ignore your mind and allow the weeds to grow and no, you have to actually look at what's there. Now, weirdly, it also is xeriscaping, because if you look at what's there and you work with it until it's very natural, then things start to take care of themselves a little bit. But look at what's in the garden, look at what's growing there, make decisions actively about what to do with it. And one of the things that's there is judgments, and this very mind is Buddha. So who are we judging? We're judging the not fixed self. You're throwing darts at a wall with no dartboard. You're just putting holes in the wall. That's what judgment is, right? It's throwing darts at an empty wall. There's no wall. There's no dartboard. So what are you doing? Stop it. Or don't, and continue to suffer in that way. But I would encourage you, when the judgments arise, ask the question, who is it that's being judged? Who is the judge and who is the judged? And just allow yourself to be right there. And just say, okay, I am where I am because of beginningless karma that has led me to this spot. And now I'm there. Now what? And then, having accepted that we are exactly where we are, allow the next step to arise naturally. Because if you do that, you're going to, I promise, if you do that, the next step will arise. If you sit long enough, you'll be like, oh, there it is. Okay.